It's going. I need water. Really, the blue background brings out the blue in your eyes. It looks fabulous.
That's why I do it.
That's good. Well, All right, so welcome, Ben. I'm so excited to see you here. Ben Winter is here with us today. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Where in the world are you?
So I'm in Denver, Colorado,
Nice.
and it's supposed to be spring, but it keeps snowing on us, so it's ridiculous.
Really?
Yeah.
It's almost May. Is that normal?
I technically it is. It's just
Is it an
it's
altitude
frustrating.
thing?
No, it's just the time of year. The snowiest 2 months in Colorado are March and April, so
Oh.
gotta hold true.
Is the skiing still good?
Apparently, I haven't been skiing
Apparently.
this year.
Yeah, that would be my son's question. Can I ski? He'd be happy. He's in Vermont and he was like skiing last week.
If you want to call it that out there.
Well, it's not the Rocky Mountains, but I guess it's better than New York.
True story.
Exactly. So Ben, tell us a little about yourself. Where did you get your start? Where did you grow up? What was your life like? Who were you before you weren't Ben Winter?
Oh wow! So I grew up in Denver. I'm a native of Colorado, and I grew up as a very shy kid. I was a shy kid. I was afraid of my shadow. I was afraid of everything around me. I didn't have a whole lot of friends, and I wanted to
Oh,
get through the youth. I wanted to get it through school, out of high school, and
get it behind you.
yeah, I just wanted to get it behind me, and didn't really break out of my shell until after college, actually. So, and from there, it's just several jobs, some interesting life experiences, some personal growth, learning some improv, starting my own business, and just kind of exploding. And as it is with flowers, they just kind of bloom at some point, and I think kind of feel like that's what happened.
You bloomed.
Yeah.
Yay. It's always a good thing. And you've had a very interesting life. Lots of traveling, scuba diving in the Galapagos. What the heck was that like?
That was some of the scariest moments in my life.
Are you
um,
a scuba diver by nature anyway?
it's funny because I knew I was going on a trip to some tropical location, but I didn't know where. So Galapagos was a surprise to me. But I went ahead and got my scuba certification, and then when we got down there, everybody that I was with in this group went scuba diving, and I was like, well, I want to go with my friends. I don't want to go like elsewhere.
Sure.
So they all went on an intermediate dive, and I've never been in the ocean with scuba gear. So put two and two
Big
together.
difference from the swimming pool.
Yeah, I was close to death a couple times.
Oh my God.
Like,
How did you get to
yeah.
the Galapagos and not know you were going?
So I was doing some personal growth work, and part of it was like you're paying for this personal growth program and the trip at the end of it. Like you knew you were going to take a trip, but they don't tell you where you're going. So you kind of have to prepare. They kind of say, well, it's going to be somewhere warm. So
Oh, so you know what
dress
to
accordingly.
pack.
Yeah.
Right.
And you knew you needed your passport. So, from there, leaving the United States, it could be anywhere in the world at that point. Um, Although this was around January, so we knew it had to be somewhere equator ish.
Sure.
Um, but we flew to Miami, and then we got our tickets to Quito, Ecuador. And that's where we found out, oh, hey, we're going to Ecuador. And then we got more details as time went on.
Wow.
Yeah. So, ended up in the ocean, almost ran out of air a couple times, and I'm alive to
Scary.
tell the tale.
Well, good. Well, that's the important part. Wow. Okay, before we get too involved, let's do the 6 quick questions. Are you ready?
Sure. Bring them
Oh,
on.
excellent. Okay. What 6 words would you use to describe yourself?
Oh, my goodness. Okay. So let's see. I would say determined. I'm definitely opinionated. I'm not going to lie. I am.
Okay.
Uh, Creative and inspiring, funny and caring.
That's a good list.
Yeah, I like that list. I'm going to keep it.
Well, good. It's your list. What's your favorite way to spend a day?
I love when I have a day where I'm just hanging out with friends, doing a happy hour. And I got to do improv before that, so I was on stage doing an improv show and then hanging out with friends and just chatting away. It's just one of my favorite days ever. It's just the improv gets me in the mood to just be funny and witty and great.
Mm-hmm.
And the conversations are just so much more fun after that.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love improv. There's an improv group. I haven't been since the whole COVID thing started, but they do a show late Friday nights at like 10:30 every Friday night in the basement of this theater building in a neighboring town. And the tickets are cheap. They're like $10, and you come in and there's cheap beer and like some snacks you can get. But it's like a theater in the round, and they've got a troupe of 6 regulars, and they are always just dragging audience members up on the stage and like doing these random, so much fun. Oh my God. So much fun. You gotta trust and be vulnerable and open up and not censor yourself. Don't think too much. Just respond.
Yeah, you can't think at all.
No.
That's the trick.
No, absolutely. Fun. We're going to talk a lot more about that. What is your favorite childhood memory? That's number 3.
That would be my dog, my childhood dog. That dog, like I said, I was shy. I didn't like people. They always turned on me. So my dog was awesome. So I just remember using her as a pillow, watching TV, and she just didn't care at all. She was very happy.
What kind of a dog?
It was a mix. I don't remember too much, but yeah, a mix.
What was her name?
Sheba.
Nice.
Yeah.
I had a miniature schnauzer growing up named Candy, who supposedly was my dog but didn't like me all that much, and she'd come into my room just to pee on the carpet. Yay!
So you were the bathroom. Got it.
She loved my mother. Every illness that my mother got, like a month later, the dog got.
Oh, geez.
It was kind of nuts. Okay, number 4. What is your favorite meal?
Pizza. Not gonna lie, it's my favorite.
Do you like toppings? Just cheese?
It depends on the day. Give me a good cheese pizza, I'm happy. Throw some toppings on it, it's even better. But yeah, it's out in New York. New York pizza is good. Don't get me wrong. I like New York pizza. Out in Colorado, we have a place called Bojo's, and it's the thin bottom, but the crust is about that big around. Okay. And they give you like a bottle of honey on the table. So like after you're done eating, it's like dessert with every. Oh, it's amazing. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to try that next time we get pizza. It would never have occurred to me to do that.
Yeah, I don't know of any place outside of Colorado that does that, and it's only one chain in Colorado. So.
Is it just regular ordinary pizza dough, or do they put sugar in it? Is it sweet in some way?
No, it's regular pizza dough, but there's just a lot of it, so that the honey and the dough makes it just taste amazing. It's like dessert.
Nice. Could also dampen it and dip it in confectioner's sugar and make like a zeppoli out of it.
You probably could, yeah. Never
thought of either one of those until right now. Okay, there goes the diet. We just have to do that. Pizza for dinner. Number 5. What is one piece of advice you would like to give your younger self?
Don't take life so seriously.
Amen.
I took life way too seriously as a kid, and yeah, this doesn't work.
Every decision is monumental.
Yeah, it is. It's not.
No.
all the things that we think need to be serious, they're not. I look at social media today, and just so many people are taking life way too seriously right now. It's ridiculous. So just chill out.
I mean, there are things that we should be serious about, but to get so angsty about it and venomous, it just seems irrelevant to me.
Yeah, it's a waste of time.
Yeah. Just a couple of weeks ago, I got a very nasty gram on Instagram telling me all sorts of awful, horrible things that should happen to me for no apparent reason. I mean, who am I? Some random chick from Long Island with a podcast,
Hey, you got a fan.
Right. Yay, I've made it. I've got a death threat. You know, like, I don't know. It's insane. People are nuts.
You're moving up in the world.
There we go. Number 5. What one piece of advice would you like to give your younger self?
The same advice I just gave.
Did I just ask you that twice?
Yeah, don't take life too seriously.
I did. Damn it. No wonder it sounded familiar.
But I didn't change my mind, so it's a good thing.
Oh, good. It's not like one of those surveys that asks you the same question 3 or 4 different ways.
Yeah, exactly.
I took one of those today, and I'm like, do you think I'm so stupid to not put the same answer? It's the same question. It's just a different page.
Exactly.
What the hell? Hey. All right, maybe we'll edit that out. Number 6. What is the one thing you would most like to change about the world?
People taking life too seriously. I think that works perfectly right now. I'm gonna stick with that as my final answer.
Final answer.
Final answer.
That's funny. And I always think things like, I would like to eradicate greed. You know, to me, if we eradicate greed, you get rid of everything that's bad about the world. People aren't going to, you know, suck up all the power and the money and let other people die. You know, if they're not greedy, they're not going to do any of those things. So, but yours is more fun.
It kind of takes care of most things as well.
There we go. We're done. We can be finished. The interview is over.
We solved the world's problems today.
And we did it in, I don't have a timer. We did it in
10 minutes.
12 minutes.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So you have a company called Success Improv Business? No.
It's the Success Improv.
Yeah, I can't read my own notes. So let's tell me about that. I'm very interested in that.
Yeah, so Success Improv is where we go into businesses and we teach them improv, whether that's for team building or just general improvement to the company culture, innovation, all various sorts of things that improv impacts in a positive way. So
I hire you to come into my company, assuming I had more than myself as an employee. Let's say I had like 20 people. You know, We never know. What do you do? Ben,
so we
need your help. Our morale is low. We don't trust each other. Nothing's getting anywhere. Shit's hitting the fan. Fix it. What do we do?
Yeah. So I come in and I teach a 2 or 3 hour, probably 3 hours with that many people, in improv class, where we kind of take the rules and the techniques of improv and we apply them to everyday life and business and how to create that team environment to build each other's trust and communication so that everybody is a little bit better off and productivity increases. Everybody's happier to come to work and it all just gets better and better.
But why does improv do that?
So if you think of it, every moment of every day of our lives, we improvise those moments. And right. The show that you were talking about earlier, if you go to an improv show, the people that are on stage, they're following a set of rules. Right. Now, when you learn improv, there's more and more and more rules as time goes on, but they boil down pretty easily to 5 basic rules. And those are the 5 basic rules that I teach. And the most common rule that you'll ever hear in improv is yes, and a lot of people, you'll say, is there a rule to improv? Yes, and. Well, yes, and is really just kind of accepting what is in the moment
and then going with it.
Adding with it, going with it, adding
right.
on to it. And the big piece there is that in our lives, we don't take the moment to say, yeah, this is the shitty thing that's happening right now. And what can I do about it? A lot of times we're just like, no, it's not happening. No, it's not me. No, I didn't do it. Nope. It's somebody else's fault. Like nobody accepts what's happening or their role in what's happening. And so that's where it kind of comes in to, once you understand those rules of improv in a business environment, you kind of understand how you play your part in the group dynamic, your expectations of their part, how to communicate a little bit more effectively. Because obviously if you're in a meeting with somebody and you're on your phone, you're not really listening to them. You're not communicating well. And, there's lots of different things that can affect those relationships in business. And so hopefully by coming in, teaching those improv skills, whether that's me or somebody else, you'll see that there's a way to kind of move past the old stuff that didn't work and move towards a better progressive way and a different approach that actually creates more fun and better productivity and all that jazz.
Do you think that that works among the different hierarchies in an organization, or only within distinct separate hierarchies? I don't know if I'm asking that well.
No, I understand what you're saying. If oftentimes, I shouldn't say oftentimes, sometimes they'll go in and the manager got the team building for the team, and then they leave the room, and that always frustrates the hell out of me because the manager plays a big role in the team environment.
Yeah.
And even the managers
sets the tone.
Yeah, the manager's manager even. What I love to do is get everybody in the company on the same page, and then the magic really happens. But the beauty of improv is, even if only you know the rules, you're going to be better prepared to handle what comes your way, whether that's talking to your boss or talking to a subordinate. Doesn't matter. And that's the beauty of knowing the rules of improv and how they work and how they apply to life.
I mean, we all have rules in every single social engagement. Certain expectations are put upon us where, you know, you're talking to your teacher, you're not going to turn around and scream at them the same way or talk to them the same way you would talk to a friend. So I think we're already sort of engaging within rules.
Yeah. And these are more of like the foundational rules that we were never taught as people. You know, like the yes and rule, accepting what is and adding to it. You know, one of the great examples of this is, I love you, but you're crazy. And I love you, or I love you and you're crazy. You know, there's a huge difference between the but and the and there. Because one gives you hope and one does not. And so in the world today, it's accepting what is and what can I do about it. It's not that like, oh, I don't have the money I want, I don't have the job that I want, I don't have the relationship that I want, and what can I do to move towards what it is that I want. If it's like, I don't have the relationship that I want, but I'm fine with it, well, you're kind of giving up on your dreams at that point. You know, I don't have the job that I want, but I'm good because the money's okay. Well, that's bullshit. You know, it's like,
you have to be happy, find something that brings you meaning, and be able to pay the bills. There's got to be something out there.
So you can not enjoy your job, stay in it for a while, and look for something else in the meantime. It's not like you have to jump ship.
Right.
Some people do, and they find their way, and it's great.
I'm too chicken shit for that. I couldn't do
it. I'm a direct example. I quit a job with nothing planned, and I left for Europe for 3 months with a 6-month-old child and didn't have a clue what I was going to end up doing. Right. Wow. And I get back and I start a business, and then I start another business, and I do this, and life just explodes. And otherwise I'd be stuck at this same dead end job.
Wow.
So,
that's brave.
You just have to accept what is and do something about it. And so those foundational rules of improv, they really help in every situation possible. And so I say to everybody, go learn improv, whether that's on your own, through business, it doesn't matter. Just go read a book, go take some classes, whatever, just learn improv.
Do you think that would work in a school?
Oh God. I think improv should be taught to everybody in school, especially I would say in middle school, it should be required, because as you go into high school, the crazy stuff that happens, you need to be ready to just yes and the hell out of all of it. Oh, okay, you're gonna bully me. Okay, I see what's happening. All right, and I'm gonna turn the tables on you.
And now what? Right.
And I don't have to, pay any attention to you. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm listening to you talk, and I'm thinking about my high school students. I teach 11th and 12th grade English, and I'm like, how can I bring this to my classroom? I mean, especially during this whole COVID thing, it's almost May, and I'm just coaxing them out of their silence behind their masks, and we've got partitions around all the desks. It's just ridiculous. And it would be fun to figure out how to do an improv thing in the classroom.
Yeah. I think it would be amazing for schools to offer improv, or even I'd make it mandatory along with finance. Make finance improv, like these things that'll help you in life later. I think those should be mandatory classes.
Yeah, there's so many things that we should be teaching kids. How to apply for jobs, how to file their taxes, how to balance their checkbooks, how to take care of their car. Yeah.
Yes, so many things.
adult 101 or something.
My counterpart, she teaches at it's called Colorado Early Colleges, and it's for those kids that are kind of excelling in high school and they want to get a jump start on college. And she kind of teaches adulting 101. It's not called that, but it's basically what it is. So it's starting to get into the schools. But yeah, it's totally necessary for everyone.
Yeah. Okay. So besides yes and, what other tools could you think that we could start to use in our own lives that might help?
So I think one of the big ones is, another rule of improv is focus on the present.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that we're not good at in terms of communicating is focusing on the person in front of you.
Right.
And texting doesn't work. It's not enough. Inflection matters, tone matters,
right.
Mannerisms matter. It's not just words. And if you're not focused on the person sitting across from you, you may as well not be there. Yeah. And so that's one of our biggest problems, is the misunderstandings we have with one another. In the conversations that we have, we've already made up our mind. We're not listening to the other person. We're not going to even entertain a different train of thought, a different idea, a different piece of information. So if you focus on the present, you just listen to somebody, you're going to not only hear what they say, but you're going to see how they say it, maybe why they're saying it, where it may have come from. And you can have a much deeper and better conversation, and a deeper understanding of where they're coming from and why. So just start focusing on the person across from you.
So it's mindfulness, and it's open-minded mindfulness, maybe.
Sure. I like it.
You just coined a new phrase. I'm going to write that down.
It's all yours.
Thank you.
I've already got like 8 other books I'm working on, so I don't have room for any more.
All right. So speaking of books, what to expect when having expectations? What's that about? Tell us about that.
Well,
I know expectations have gotten me into a shit ton of trouble.
Yeah. Well, it is about expectations. It's about where our expectations come from, why we have them, and what to do about it when we magically find out we had one that we didn't know we had until it starts going unmet.
Explain.
So the only reason anybody gets upset is because an expectation isn't being met. And a lot of times, anytime somebody's upset, I have 100% been able to find that there's a correlating expectation that they either knew about or didn't know about. And it's either of themselves or of somebody close to them or other people around them. And a lot of times we didn't even know we had that expectation until it's like staring us in the face, which is not a problem as long as you take a moment and say, oh, hey, look, I had this expectation. That kind of sounds exactly like what my mom said when I was a kid.
Right.
So maybe I'm trying to emulate what I learned when I grew up and it's not going well. So is this working for me? That sort of kind of conversation that we would have with ourselves.
So you mean like expectations, like I thought I was going to do better on the math test than I did? Or
that could be one.
Thought you were going to love me the way I wanted to be loved? I mean, you mean stuff like that?
All of that. Absolutely. It's, if you grow up in a household where everybody's loving, caring, they're open, inviting, you're always having friends over, you're always in a fun environment. When you grow up and you're bored as hell and nobody ever comes over and you don't have any friends, well, you're kind of upset. Not necessarily you're upset at the world around you, you're upset at yourself, like you're just upset. You're like, this isn't how life is supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's an expectation because that's how you grew up. Um, on the other side, you may grow up hating that environment, saying there's too many people around, I never have time to myself. And then somehow you grow up and you have all the time in the world and you're just happy as can be because you wanted something different. The other side of that is maybe you grew up in a household where everybody was yelling and arguing and it was very non-inclusive and there was just lots of anger. Mm-hmm. And now you're out in the world and everybody's getting upset with you and you're just like, why does everybody hate me? Right. And well, if you grew up in an environment where you've put out hate and anger, then that's what you're going to kind of get back. And if you don't like that, well, you kind of had an expectation of how this is how life is supposed to be because that's how you grew up. Now, it could be that you grew up watching your parents and how they love each other. Maybe it's just words. Maybe they just talk about loving each other. Maybe you grew up with parents who were always affectionate, holding hands, cuddling on the couch every night. And you grow up, that's what love is. Some people grow up only receiving gifts and that's how they knew their parents loved them or whatever. And so when you grow up,
love languages, but yeah,
that's the love languages story right there. So when you grow up and you get into a relationship and they're not loving you the way you want to be loved or the way you think you're supposed to be loved, you don't really think that they love you. So a lot of these expectations we have of the world around us are subconscious. They're how we grew up. And, you'll get into that relationship and somebody gives you a gift and you're like, well, that's great, but why aren't you like cuddling with me every night? Or like, why are you never around? Like, I just want to spend time with you. And, at some point you'll get upset. You'll get wildly upset and you'll start yelling match or you'll skip the part where you get therapy and figure out that this is the issue and you'll get a divorce and whatever may happen. And, a lot of times if we just stop and say, why am I upset? Well, I want them to be here cuddling with me at night. But have you told that person that? Right. Say, hey, this is how I like. Could
just be a request.
Yeah, could just be a request. Because a lot of times we'll have these expectations of others, whether we know them or not. But even if we do know them, a lot of times we don't even talk about it to the person who's closest to us. We don't talk about it with the people around us.
Do we take for granted that we think that they know? Do we think it's intuitive in some way? Or do we just not think we need to communicate it? It doesn't quite get to that level of thought.
Yeah, it's a mixture of a lot of that. I would say most of the time we just assume that people think the same way as us. And look where that's getting us as a society. It doesn't work. Yeah, it doesn't work.
No.
The example that I use in the book, one that I love using is, there's a couple, guys watching sports ball and the wife's in the kitchen cooking. Yes, I'm stereotyping, whatever. People understand it. So I use it. And she says, honey, take out the trash. Okay. Simple request, right? Except he's watching sports ball and time goes on and she gets upset because he hasn't taken out the trash when he said, okay. And time goes on and now she's about to like throw the trash at him. And, he had every intention of still taking out the trash.
Right.
But what she didn't communicate was, I need you to take out the trash now because we have company coming over later and I don't want it to smell up the house.
Right.
Okay. That's way more clear.
The sentence would have been more clear. Right.
Exactly. Communicating, saying this is my expectation and all the details around that expectation. Now he could have, not to give him, an out here. He could have said, when do you need this done? I'm watching the game. And she's like, well, sooner than later. He could have taken the step forward and said, I need details.
I'm in the middle of 15 minutes. Can it wait that long?
Right. This is what's called negotiation or talking or communicating, again, stuff we suck at as a society these days.
Yeah.
And that's a very simple example, but people can grasp that one. So when we come up with an expectation we didn't even know we had of somebody else,
Hmm.
there's no way you can be upset at them because they didn't even know about it because you didn't know about it.
Right.
So you
Right.
got to take that step back and say, okay, now that I know that I have this expectation, is it a reasonable expectation? And if it's not a reasonable expectation, maybe I need to reframe it before I go to somebody else and say, hey, this is what I was thinking. This is what
Hmm.
I need. This is what
Right.
I want.
Yeah. That's how life has sort of worked out with my second marriage. Between negative expectations that I had from growing up and with my first marriage and earlier relationships, I had an expectation that I was going to be misunderstood. I had an expectation that I was going to be treated like crap and ignored. And I didn't like the way those expectations played out and made me feel. So I've gone into this new, I've rewritten the expectations. I've never explained it this way before, but I'm trying to make sense out of your way of looking at it with other things. So now I've gone into this new relationship with the expectation that it's going to be better and more clearly communicative, and I am really consciously aware of how clear I'm being when I make requests of other people or when I am communicating with them about things.
Yeah. So you've made that conscious choice.
Right.
And that's all it really starts with is choosing. I need something different. And maybe it's that I need to be specific about what I want.
Yeah.
Maybe it's about taking a moment every time I get upset and saying, what's that about?
Right. Yeah, yeah. Nobody's going to read your mind. That I learned very early on when my mother expected me to read hers, and it was just not possible. But I'll say
Yeah.
to my daughter, who's going to school now, she goes to school in Massachusetts, but she's home because all her classes are online because of COVID. So I'll say, in between classes today, could you clean out the litter box and vacuum, but do it before I get home from school? And so
Yeah.
she's got
That's
a
very
time
specific.
frame. Right. She's got a time frame. I expect you to do this, and I expect you to do this in between your other stuff by 2 o'clock or by 3 o'clock or whatever it is. And I would say 85% of the time it's done. But that's a
Yeah.
pretty good result.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you're good with it, so that's
Yeah,
great.
it's fine.
It's funny as you were talking about relationships, it got me thinking of all the like
Oh, you froze, Ben. Ben's closed his eyes and he froze.
hit the
Ben.
guy over the head with a two by
Wait,
four to
wait, wait,
say,
wait,
hey,
wait.
I'm interested.
You froze for a second. So,
I did.
yeah. So, from the time that you said this got me to think about relationships, I
Okay.
missed everything else.
Then I'll start from there. So, well, as you were talking about relationships, I was thinking about all the funny things that happen when all the comedy and everything out there around relationships, and how when a woman likes a guy, she has to basically hit him over the head with a two by four to say, hey, I'm interested.
Mm-hmm.
You know, honestly, there's some truth to that because we don't read each other's minds. Sometimes the guy has to say, hey, I'm interested in you. Sometimes the woman has to say, hey, I've been flirting with you for a while, like catch on please. Oh, okay. You know.
Well, that happened with my husband and I. We've been friends for 29 years. And we had this very nice relationship. He was married to someone. I was married to someone. We had kids. We were never single at the same time, whatever. Anyway, finally it gets to 2015 and we met in 87. So now it's 2015 and we're finally single at the same time. But I'm not thinking of him that way, you know? And I remember being on Facebook Messenger and we were having this long conversation. He was with his kids. I was with my kids. So we couldn't really talk on the phone. And he was like, so, maybe we'll hang out and go to the movies on Saturday. And I'm like, sure, that'd be nice. But it was just sort of like, well, maybe. It wasn't like, will you go to the movies with me on a date? And I was so used to him being way in the friend zone that it didn't occur to me that this was his way of asking me out. And Saturday came and went and we didn't go to the movies. He didn't follow up. I didn't follow up. It was just that conversation and, like, oh, we'll do lunch. And then months had gone by and I just didn't get the vibe. And then I invited him over to my house for a Halloween party. And he was like, all right, I'm going to be really clear and I'm going to ask her out. And then I had a date at the party because I didn't know he was coming with that expectation. So it was just, a comedy of errors here. And then finally I asked him out very clearly. and that's how it went. So.
Okay. Yeah. See, it's so funny. We just don't share our expectations with others. And a lot of times it's out of fear, a lot of, especially with people dating, it's like, hey, if I tell you I'm interested and you reject me, that's painful. And so a lot of times we want to avoid that pain. So we just don't share it. Right. But in that point, he couldn't show up at the party and be upset. Because
no, he wasn't upset. I mean,
right.
He was disappointed, but he wasn't upset with me because I had freaking no idea.
Well, he might have been upset with himself, but at that point in time, all you could really do is say, I never communicated my expectations. So I have no ground to stand on with being upset with myself or anyone around me.
Right.
And, whether it's disappointment, upset or otherwise, it's, you see what I'm saying is like, he never said what he needed to say. So showing up at a party when it's like, oh, she's here with a date. It's like, okay, well, who else here is single? Woo, whatever.
Well, and then he asked me if he could ask out one of my friends. And I was like slightly disappointed because I thought that he was interested in me, but I wasn't really sure. And he didn't really say anything. So I didn't really trust the vibe. And I'm like, here, you can have her number. And then by the time they went out and then they told me that they had gone out, I had already decided that I was going to ask him out. And when I found out that the date didn't go all that well, I was like, yes.
The rest is history.
And the rest is history. And then I asked him out and then I proposed to him because I knew eventually he would ask, but I didn't like his timeline. I expected faster and I knew his timeline would be slow. So
there we go.
Right.
Got to ask for what you want.
Well, and here's another expectation. When I told my dad that we were engaged, his expectation was that Michael would have proposed to me. And when I said that I proposed, my dad did not know what to do. It's like, you what? Is it legitimate? Can we tell people? Would he have asked you anyway? Like, he just couldn't. It didn't meet his expectation, and he couldn't get past it for a while.
Yeah, it's like, again, how we grow up really dictates what our thoughts and beliefs are about the future. So when something goes against that, we're just kind of like, what?
Right.
I don't get it. Yeah, it's pretty common. Anybody going against the norm, you're going to get a pretty common reaction like that.
Yeah. I have kids come up to me all the time and say things to me expecting me to flip out as their teacher. And I'm like, yeah, and okay, so you'll hand it in tomorrow. I don't care. My orbit is not going to flip out. One less paper to read tonight. I don't care. Hand it in tomorrow, And they're like, really? In the grand scheme of things, it's irrelevant.
Yeah. But some other teacher said it was relevant. So,
yeah, they get their expectation is a punitive response. And
yeah,
I'm sorry to disappoint, but I'm not that way. I mean, I am at some things. Let's Anyway,
yeah,
so you wrote this book, What to Expect When Having Expectations. I keep almost reading this like the pregnancy book.
I know.
What to expect when you're expecting. And I'm like, I have to fix it in my head every single time I read it, which, I'll never forget it. So.
Yeah. And it's funny because I put it out to my social media world and my friends, and I was like, I need a title for this book. And it was actually somebody I do improv with who suggested this title. So I have to give him the credit. But it was, as soon as he put it down, I was like, that's it. That's the one.
It's awesome. I mean,
because it plays right off of the other book for sure.
Exactly. What to expect. And we all have expectations. Once you explained the concept, I can see them everywhere.
Yeah. There's no getting away from them. Anybody who says, I choose not to have expectations. Well, that's an expectation in and of itself.
Exactly. Not having an expectation is an expectation.
Yeah, you're expecting not to have an expectation. So sorry, you now have an expectation.
Even my cats have expectations.
Of course they do. I expect to kill you tonight. No.
Oh my God, we have this theory. We have this one cat who I swear should be on antidepressants or something, or anti-anxiety medication. He paces around the perimeter of the entire house yelling all the time. And we have this theory that if he wasn't 11 pounds, if he was 10 times the size, he'd kill us all in our sleep.
Probably. It's like, oh, you look like a tasty moral.
You won't let me out of the house. Slash, cats are a riot. So funny. Yes. So funny. So you have other books too? I did not do my due diligence and read and look them up. I just looked at my own notes that says, and several other books, which I didn't read until this moment. What other books have you written?
So the first book that I wrote is called Living Unscripted. And that one specifically talks about improv and how it applies to life. And it's almost the same material that I teach in my classes. But it's designed for the person who just wants to sit at home and read through it and see what they can take from it. So Living Unscripted is the first one. That one took me all of about a week to write, just because it was just like I was just typing and it was just flowing out of me, and just it was perfect. It was great. I absolutely love that book. The other ones that are in between the two are just variations of the first one. So like one's for business, one's for teams, one's for relationships. And so don't buy all of them. All the unscripted ones, just pick the one that's most relevant to you.
Buy the ones that make the most sense.
Yeah, because you'll start reading it, you're like, this is exactly the same, except the examples are different. So
well, but it's good. It gets you fine-tuned into different niches.
Exactly.
So that it's more applicable to a specific and then clientele.
Book number 5 it's called Improve Your Self-Esteem. But it's all improv with a lowercase e.
Cute.
That one's a lot of the same as the first, but I expanded into kind of my past and situations that occurred in my past and how they might have been different had I learned improv at a young age. So it kind of goes back to what you were talking about with what, should they teach improv in schools? And I know my life would have been drastically different had I had improv back when.
Follow that thought.
So I was bullied one time in high school, out of nowhere, because I was so naive about life. And apparently I did something to upset somebody who was 2 years older than me. And I'd never talked to him before or anything. And he came up and swore in my face, made me feel like I was about to die, and then walked off. And I was like, holy crap. Right.
Oh.
And I just kind of froze. I didn't know what to do. I was just like freaking out. Right. I wanted to just go home or get to my next class, get next to a teacher, somebody. I felt completely unsafe.
You need home base, tag,
Yeah. And I think having had improv in my backpack ready to go, I might have handled that situation completely differently. I might have been like, dude, we don't even talk. Like, what are you talking about? I might have started asking him questions to get some clarification and maybe diffuse the situation. And I don't know if it would have. So
what comes with that not only is a response or an arsenal or a tool belt of responses, but inherent in that improv experience is self-esteem building, is confidence. Yes. That's the piece that would have allowed you, in my estimation, to stand up to the bully more than the tool belt of responses.
I couldn't agree more. It is such a self-confidence building tool. And I kind of feel like that's where most of my self-confidence as an adult has come from, is doing improv. But, there's various things that happened in my life that, high school, college, I would have handled college so differently, having had improv. Again, self-confidence at the end of the day is probably the main piece there. And, that's why I call it Improve Your Self-Esteem, because I think through improv, you do improve your self-esteem. And so that book, it's still the same rules and information, but it's kind of a deeper dive into my life and how things might have been different with some self-esteem in my backpack.
Do you do these exercises for fun with your kid?
He's been to some shows. He's pretty outgoing, self-confident kid at the moment. He is only 11. He'll be 12 in August.
Oh, you froze again. Frozen.
So as the hormones start to mess up his brain.
Wait. You totally froze again. And you still haven't unfrozen. I don't know what happened. I can't hear you now or see you. Okay, Ben, can you hear me at all? Someone here?
You there?
There you are. Hello? Hello? Nope, he's gone. Ben Winter is gone. He's coming back. He's coming back. Yay!
Yes. Okay.
You're back.
I'm going with hotspot on my phone. It seems to have a better connection than my Wi-Fi for a moment. So
okay.
All right. I don't know where we cut out.
You cut out. Your son is 11.
Yes. So my son's 11. He has not quite gotten the hormones to affect his brain.
Mm-hmm. Oh no, we froze again. It froze again.
I did. Wow. Must be my computer.
You're better now.
Okay. I'm gonna do one thing really quick. See if, because make sure everything's not freaking out on me.
See, this is why I like recorded and not live so much.
Yeah. Messes with the flow either way, but okay. I don't see anything running that is going to cause me issues. So okay, I think problem solved. Let's do this.
Okay.
All right. So
2 minutes left. All right. So your son is 11.
So my son's 11. He hasn't hit the ages yet where the hormones take over his brain and make him stupid. So hopefully he'll keep his confidence going throughout middle school and high school. And I think he's more likely to become the bully. Although I won't stand for that in any way, shape, or form.
I would imagine not.
But he's into sports and team playing, so he's always in that dynamic of actually caring and working with others. And the school that he's in actually kind of teaches that. And he's a very caring kid right now. So hopefully he'll be the guy that goes into a situation and diffuses other bullies and says, just chill out, leave the kid alone. Or, you know, I want him to be the guy that stands up to bullies on behalf of other kids. So yeah, that's what I want.
That's a good goal. That's a good goal. Yeah, my son was doing that, and unexpected by me. You know, I was at the playground once, and he was 5, but he was always tall. He was always very tall for his age. And there was he was in kindergarten, and these first graders came over to the playground and told him and his friend that they weren't allowed to use the slide because they weren't in first grade. And my son stood taller than was necessary. I heard him from the ground, and he said, "You don't own this. This is a town slide. We can slide here. You don't have the right to pick on us." And he just and the bully just went, "Oh, okay, you go down first then." You know, like he just was not. His expectation was that my son was just going to back down, and that was the end of that. And he didn't know what to do with the script flipped on him.
Yeah, exactly.
He just caved.
Yeah. So, you know, I have expectations of my child, and I'm sure plenty of them will go unmet, and that's just me
having your
expectations,
not his expectations.
Exactly. So, but I'm already prepared for that. So it's, you know, I'm sure I will be thrown curveballs I never expected, and that's fine. So,
well, that's what makes us good parents. You know, we have our metaphoric catcher's mitt, and we can catch and throw back whatever comes our way. It's a very bad metaphor, but you get the idea.
I get it.
You know, I'm never funny on purpose. I'm only funny on accident, spontaneously. So it either works or it doesn't. I always tell my students the jokes are quick, the jokes are smart, but they're often very bad.
Hey, as long as you're trying.
That's it. And then half the time they're like, "Oh no, I can't believe she said that." But I don't know. 4th generation wise ass. There's not much I can do about that, you know. So how can our lovely listeners get in touch with you, Mr. Winter?
The best way to do that is by going to the website havingexpectations.com. You can find out all about the book, What to Expect When Having Expectations. Or you can go to successimprov.com and learn more about the business. And also the books are listed in there as well. So,
and the books are available on the website, but are they available at other places?
They're all just links to Amazon. They're all on Amazon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Amazon is ubiquitous. It is everywhere.
Yeah, it is.
There's no way around it.
Exactly.
The beast of ubiquity, you know.
Makes it easy by using Amazon.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here, Ben. This was fabulous. I enjoyed this conversation. We improv'd the whole thing.
Yes, indeed we did.
I like that. So excellent. So I will link all of your website information and all of that in the show notes. So if you're listening to this, you can scroll down and at the bottom you'll see them there. If you're on YouTube watching this, well, then it's right there under our pictures. So that's that. Thank you so much, Ben. And I will be improving myself all night. This is awesome.
It's been a lot of fun. I appreciate the time.
Anytime. Thanks so much.
All right.